Hopefully we can just a random construction wall. Tree of Life. And it is a very crowded day. Doug! Expedition Everest.
Fun. That was fun.
That was fun. Woo!
Oh, that was
You need one last one.
Whoa! Well, that was worse than the ride. That hurt. All right, Mom.
Oh,
here we go again.
Rough stop. Heading to Africa to do Kilimanjaro. Harambe Wildlife Reserve. The Conservation Code.
Ready?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Let's go. Alright, Jumbo folks, my name is Phil. I'll be your guide out here on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve today. Take a look up, you'll see an animal spotting guide. That'll help you identify animals you may see out there. This is a photo safari, so feel free to take pictures, but I'm not always able to stop for the animals, and they're not going to stop for us, so if you want pictures, be ready. The roads will get pretty rough out there, so I do need everyone to stay fully seated at all times. Do not stand up, hold your kids up, or change seats at any time. Even if we stops are typically brief, and the animals can interact with the truck. So for their safety and ours, need to stay seated. And also, you'll want to hold on tight to all of your personal belongings, hats, glasses, phones, cameras. You happen to lose something from the truck, we can't stop or get out. So it will take some time to get those items back to you, and more likely than not, they will not come back in the same condition you left them. So hold on tight. Now this is a wildlife reserve. That means the animals we see here are wild animals. Please do not call out to them or yell or whistle or make any other extraneous excessive noises that may disturb them. We're entering their homes, so we need to be respectful. So look, we're going to go far, but we're going to start heading in there. Our first stop on the reserve is in the Little Ituri Forest. Now the forest animals, they typically use their natural markings as camouflage to hide from predators. There's a lot of thick brush, trees, things like that for them to hide behind. So keep your eyes peeled. The animals can appear anywhere at any time out here. But it can be hard to find. On our right-hand side, you may be able to see an okapi on top of that hill. The okapi looks a little like a zebra, but they're actually the only living relative of the giraffe, the only other member of the Giraffidae family. That's a female okapi, but male will have ossicones, which would be the little false horns giraffes have, so their skull structure is very similar. It's very similar to the giraffe. They also have 7 vertebrae in their neck, while shorter, that's the same number giraffes have. And they have a 12-inch long prehensile tongue, basically meaning they can use it to grab their food, which is also similar to the giraffe. The okapi are very shy and reclusive, so they were actually believed to be a myth in the Western world all the way up until 1901. That was the first time a Westerner saw an okapi. There's some, actually 2 different herds of antelope coming up on our right-hand side. Eventually, there's one on the far side of the hill, but first, there's a small herd of female greater kudu. Typically, the males will live alone, while the females live in herds that are small like this, 3 to 10 usually. The females, you can see, don't have any horns. The males have horns, though, that reach about 6 feet up in the air and usually have 2.5 or 3 spirals. You can see what those look like at either end of your spotting guide. Then over to our left there, you can see a black rhino. Actually, the smaller of the 2 rhinos found here in Africa. They weigh up to about 3,000 pounds. They're also referred to as hook-lipped rhinos. They have a pointed prehensile lip, which makes them a browser. They pick up and eat their food. That's actually different from white rhinos. So the black rhinos, they are browsers. They live in the forest. White rhinos are grazers, so you may see them on the savannah. You can see that rhino has a pair of horns. Both black and white rhinos do. They're made of keratin, which is the same protein found in our fingernails and hair. Unfortunately, they are believed to have special properties, which is why they were poached. Because of poaching and habitat loss, there's only 5,000 black rhinos remaining. They are critically endangered. Because of their thick hide, rhinos actually don't have any natural predators, so we are the only threat to their survival. On the hill to our right, another herd of antelope, those are bongos. Bongos are nicknamed ghosts of the forest, and that's because of their horns. Both the males and females have them. They come out of the back of their head, they go over their neck. It essentially allows them to run quickly through the thick brush without getting caught on anything, so they move unseen, hence ghosts of the forest. They're elusive enough that the people that live near them will sometimes go years without ever seeing one. But definitely have earned their nickname. I see at least 2 hippos coming up on our right-hand side near those logs in the water. Adult male can weigh up to about 5,500 pounds. Females up to about 4,000. Hippos, their groups are, it's called a bloat, B-L-O-A-T. They're a nocturnal animal, so they sleep during the day. Often in and underwater. They spend up to 18 hours a day in water because their skin dries out and they overheat if they spend too much time in the sun. Now they can, they can hold their breath up to 8 minutes at a time. They can surface and submerge all while still sleeping. They'll sleep in shallow water, so either their head's just below the water or just above. Oh, there's actually more coming up on the left-hand side. Even though hippos are herbivores, they're one of Africa's most dangerous animals. They're extremely territorial and aggressive. They have a very powerful bite, comparable to that of the crocodile. They're very dangerous, even so much that, predators will often be driven away. Crocodiles, for example, will enter a hippo pool and be driven away. So, yeah, they're quite dangerous. Looks like they're all sleeping, so I don't think we'll see much movement. They can swim, but most of the time they will not. They usually walk along the bottom of the water. Maybe push off and float a little bit, but they don't swim typically. There's actually a baby hippo walking around on the bank of the river over there to our left-hand side. The hippos will have about an 8-month-long gestation period, so similar to humans. Baby hippo will weigh about 50 to 100 pounds at birth. They give birth either in shallow waters or on land. And actually, they nurse up to about 8 months. They will nurse underwater, so they kind of hold their breath, close their nose and ears. I'd love to hang out with good little baby hippo. We do have to keep going, unfortunately. It's adorable, though.
Lot to say, but we gotta go.
It's adorable, and we're moving on.
It's a few months old. Now, we're about to cross the bridge. I do need everyone to stay seated. Over to our left, you can see quite a few Nile crocodile. Now, they are, they reach about 16 feet in length. They're going to weigh up to about 500 pounds. They have a very powerful bite. I mentioned with the hippos. It's about 2,000 pounds per square inch of pressure, so enough to crush the bones of their prey. Crocodiles are ectothermic. They're cold-blooded. They don't actually have sweat glands, so you see them walk with their mouths open. A few of them have their mouths open back there. And that allows them to release heat, regulates their body temperature, which is kind of similar to how dogs pant rather than sweat. Crocodiles will stay underwater for extended periods of time, even up to 2 hours at a time if they remain completely inactive. And they have two different group names depending if they're in water or on land. They're referred to as a float or basket crocodiles.
Hello. Hello, Overtor.
Why were the crocodiles painted?
Vandals?
I don't quite know the answer to that. I'd assume the researchers that are also here trying to...
They already went through the hippos, they already went across the... I see you too. I'm sticking to the seat. She said she's sticking to the seat.
You can see things are opening up a little bit. We are leaving the forest. We're heading into the savannah. The savannah will stretch for hundreds of miles, and it is home to a lot of Africa's most famous animals, like the wildebeest and giraffe you see here at the bottom of the hill. Probably find some other species. It's a pretty diverse ecosystem, really. Well, the wildebeest that are found here in the reserve are white-bearded wildebeest, one of the more common subspecies. The name wildebeest comes from an Afrikaans word wildebeest, which means wild beast. They're also known as gnu, which is spelled GNU. That's for their vocalization. Wildebeest are migratory, so they'll travel up to 1,000 miles every year, and there are about 1.5 million wildebeest in Africa, so it is a massive migration. They're almost always on the move. They, of course, do have to stop at night to sleep, but they'll sleep in rows very tightly packed together, which gives them safety in numbers and also allows them to run away from predators without running into each other. Quite useful, of course. We're also passing by some giraffe. They are the tallest animal in the world, standing up to 20 feet tall. A group of giraffe is called a tower. Pretty fitting. They will kind of tower over the savannah. They essentially spend all of their time standing because laying down exposes their neck to predators, makes them vulnerable. There's a lot of blood vessels in their neck. It also takes them a second or two to stand, but they will eat, drink, and sleep standing. Well, I just left out. They also give birth standing. That one that's just standing there to our right is an adolescent giraffe. At birth, they stand about 5 or 6 feet tall. They'll be up walking around within the first hour of their birth, so they're mobile quickly. And they'll typically give birth at night here on the savannah, so they cover darkness to birth. In any case, so yeah, that giraffe there was a couple of years old probably, but still relatively small. Still an adolescent. Now, giraffe, they only sleep for about 30 minutes a day. They'll actually spend upwards of 16 hours a day eating. They have a prehensile tongue like the okapi, about 18 inches in length, so they use that to wrap onto the leaves and the moss you see high up in the trees. They can also eat grass. To reach the ground, all they have to do is kind of spread and bend their legs. Reach all the way down, so it is possible. Out to our left, you can see a kind of a den there. Under it, in it, there's a pack of wild dogs. They're nicknamed painted dogs. They have black, yellow, and white spots. They're actually some of Africa's most successful predators. They hunt in packs, typically about 8 to 10, chase their prey for up to an hour to the point they collapse from exhaustion. So they have very good endurance, very good hearing. They can also read each other's body language. That all combines to give them about a 90% success rate. they're pretty small, so they can be prey for larger predators. And they also have to compete with large predators. They'll often catch their prey, and then a larger predator like a lion or a hyena will come through and take it away. So that can make it a little bit hard for them. Unfortunately, humans have made we have made them currently critically endangered. There are only 5,000-ish remaining. Might be hard to see, but back to our left there's a herd of Ankole cattle, the only domesticated animal found on the reserve. Their horns will reach up to 4 feet in length, 20 inches in diameter at their base. They actually have a hollow honeycomb structure, so as large as they are, quite light. That, by the way, is a hawk that just flew by. Now to our left, you can see a herd of sable antelope. The sable are the symbol of the reserve. Those curved horns are actually extremely sharp, so they're very dangerous. To the point that lions and some other predators have learned to avoid them. But they are brave, so they'll stand their ground and fight rather than run away, and they're even a little bit aggressive, so quite dangerous. We did pass a giraffe back there. There's another coming up to our left, kind of heading backwards, where the giraffe and wildebeest, actually, we're going to see them again. I mentioned the giraffe were up within that first hour of birth. Actually, the wildebeest will be faster, up within the first 15 minutes to half hour. Especially for the wildebeest, that is definitely necessary since they're migratory, since they're always on the move. If a wildebeest can't keep up with their herd, there's a chance they could fall behind. So kind of have to be mobile. As we get close to these giraffe here, you can see that. Well, this giraffe to our left is kind of irregular, jagged edges to those spots. And that's the characteristic of the Maasai giraffe you see here, but there are actually 9 different kinds, each with their own unique characteristics. And also, as we pass the group up there on our right, you'll notice they all look different. So even though they're all the same kind, they're all unique. But in any case, on the spotting item above you, there's a picture of reticulated giraffe. That name means net-like, they kind of smooth, round edges, thinner lines, bigger spots. So those are 2 pretty drastically different kinds of giraffe, but yeah, just 2 kinds. Unfortunately, giraffe are currently vulnerable. They're an endangered species because of poaching in the habitat. I unfortunately can repeat that phrase a lot throughout our journey today. Also coming up on our right-hand side, you can see some small white and tan antelope with that dark stripe. If you were to look up at the spotting, I'd look out to the right. You'd think those were Thompson's gazelles or Tommies. They're not. They're close relative, though. They're the springbok, the national animal of South Africa, actually. Speed around 60 miles an hour, so they're one of the top 10 fastest land animals in the entire world. Springbok, they do what's called pronking. They jump from one spot to another, kind of. Each jump can be about 6 feet up and 13 feet forward. Really, really incredible. I've only been lucky enough to personally see it a few times, but there's some great videos online, so I suggest you go home and look up springbok pronking. You're unlikely to see it. But the springbok, it's probably going to be hard to tell looking at that tiny picture and then them far away out there. Differences in their nose shape, their stripes on their face, and their horns is probably the biggest, the easiest to tell difference, but fairly minor stuff. Left-hand side, pretty small, that's a little baby, but you might also see an adult, I think, behind a tree. Get a better view in a moment. Anyway, those monkeys would be the mandrills. A fully grown adult male, oh yeah, there's a male, he's the one moving around along those rocks there. Fully grown male can weigh up to about 100 pounds, so he is the largest monkey in Africa. And also the most colorful monkey in the world. As we come by here, you may see their bright red and blue nose. They also have a bright red and blue bottom, a lot of yellow around their face. You can kind of see that coming up there. They were what inspired Rafiki in The Lion King. A little bonus fact for you, Rafiki is actually a Swahili word, it means friend. Most of the names in The Lion King have meaning in Swahili. Out to our right here, you can actually see an elephant. A fully grown adult male will weigh up to 13,000 pounds, making him the largest land animal in the world. A female will weigh up to around 10,000. There's a little bit of a size difference now. Elephants, they're a matriarchal society, so the females are the leaders of the herd. The males will actually leave when they reach adulthood. Oh, by the way, that's around 13 or 14. That's the second longest childhood to humans. But the males will leave and live either alone, or most often alone, or sometimes in small bachelor herds with other males. So you only see the males with the herd passing for mating purposes. Yeah. The males will live typically pretty solitary lives. Well, hopefully we get a chance to find some more elephants because we're just going to see this guy here alone. You may see some dirt or dried mud on the back. Well, also a little bit of grass, it looks like. That's to help cool down. They can fling things like dirt, grass, mud, water, and anything really like that on their back. Because there's blood vessels up there, it cools them down. Also flapping their ears, same thing basically. It cools them down by up to about 15 degrees. Elephants also have pretty sensitive skin, kind of like ours, so you'll see them roll around and coat their entire body in mud to act as sunblock, basically. Or a few more elephants actually to our left there. See an adolescent closest to us is some way out in the distance as well. Try and get some better views, but there's a little bit of a berm and a lot of vegetation in the way here. There we go. You can actually kind of see the, well, it looks like she's actively covering herself in mud. So there we go. Didn't even know. That was kind of nice. I get to talk about it when we get to see it. I love when that happens. Now, elephants' trunks, they're quite complex actually. They have tens of thousands of muscles. So it takes a baby up to 9 months to learn how to use their trunk. That's essentially what allows them to do things like that. They also use their trunk to eat, drink, trumpet, smell, so, you know, everything they do, basically, they use their trunk for. Their trumpeting sound, of course, obviously, elephants are very famous for it, but we are unlikely to hear it. We could, but they really only trumpet when they need to, if there's a threat nearby or something like that. They're not typically very vocal. Quite a few elephants to our left here, so. Yeah. This is a lot of fun to watch, actually. Oh yeah, the baby elephant to our left there. Now elephants, they have about a 22-month-long gestation period. So they're pregnant for nearly 2 years, and most often just give birth to one baby, which weigh a few hundred pounds at birth. I gotta mention the trunks are quite complex, so for most of the first year of their life, will definitely need to stay very close to home. That baby is at least a year old, somewhere between a year, maybe 2 years old if I had to guess. It looks pretty large, probably weighs upwards of 1,000 pounds. By the way, they will actually nurse up to 5 years, so they do stay close to home for quite a while. So, I can see it's actually wrapping along there, so you can tell it has pretty good use of its trunk.
Nice.
Elephants, by the way, are one of the most intelligent animals in the world. So their trumpeting sound, well, their calls can actually be very specific. So, for example, through our research here, we learned that elephants are afraid of bees. They actually have a specific call if bees are nearby. So,
Wow.
pretty specific. If you want to learn more about that and about our conservation efforts in regards to that, there's actually a really cool exhibit out at Rafiki's Planet Watch called the Elephant and Bees Project. It's really cool. Go check that out. Anyway, to our left here, there's a flamboyance of greater flamingo. They are the largest of their species, standing up to about 5 feet tall. But as you can kind of tell, they're really not the most colorful. Their legs, wings, beaks, the most colorful. The rest of their body's kind of just that light pink. But in any case, also, you will notice a few that are partially gray on the far side of that island. Those would be the babies. It takes up to about 2 years for them to get their color. They're born gray. And the color comes from their diet. So the greater flamingo, they have a diet that's primarily going to consist of shrimp, while the flamingos that live in the Caribbean will typically get that bright pink color throughout. Their diet's primarily algae. So essentially different diets, different amounts of color. Coming up on our right-hand side looks to be a crash of southern white rhinos. Crash is what you call a group. The southern white rhinos are far more social than black rhinos, so black rhinos typically live alone. The white rhinos will live in groups more often. They weigh up to about 5,000 pounds. They're nearly twice the size of the black rhino. Both black and white rhinos have very poor eyesight, so definitely want to be careful. They use their hearing to figure out what's going on around them, but we don't want to be misidentified as a threat. Let's see, it looks like 4 up there right now. Now, the names for rhinos are misnomers. The name white rhino actually came from an Afrikaans word white, W-H-I-T, meaning wide, in reference to their wide, square jaw. That name was misunderstood, and the name white rhino and then eventually black rhino came to be. Because of their wide, square jaw, they are a grazing animal, and that's why they live on the savanna. One more chance to see them there. Now there are two subspecies of white rhinos, the southern white rhino and then there's the northern white rhino. There are about 20,000 southern white rhinos, although unfortunately their population is in decline. But even more unfortunate, there's actually only two northern white rhinos, a mother and daughter pair. There are no more males. So that's why our rhino conservation efforts especially are very important. There's a few cheetahs here to our left. There look to be one on the hill up there, but just kind of far away. These two up here are definitely easier to see. Cheetahs will live in groups called a coalition, typically about 2 to 4, so they're pretty small. Cheetahs are the fastest land animal in the world. They can actually go 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds. But they are sprinters, so they can also only hold their top speed for about a minute. Then it takes up to half an hour to cool down. So that small group size, that poor endurance, means they actually have about a 25% success rate. They're diurnal, they're daytime hunters. They use their spots to sneak up on their prey, get close before they sprint, but still a pretty low success rate. Well, actually, coming up on our left, another predator. You can see a female lion sleeping on a rock there, on top of that Kobe Rock Formation. Lions are a nocturnal predator primarily, so they spend up to 20 hours a day inactive. Most of their day will be spent sleeping or just laying around to save up their energy so they can be more active later. Now, typically a pride of lions only contains one adult male because males fight for dominance, so the females are the hunters. The male stays at home to protect the pride while the females are gone. They have pretty comparable... Oh, well, there's a male. They have pretty comparable vision to humans during the day, but their night vision is about 6 times better than ours. They also have padded paws. You can kind of see those large paws there. It kind of allows them to sneak up on their prey and get close to them. They have about a 50%... Oh, there's a female there, too, right above the male. So they have about a 50% success rate when hunting, so they are pretty good hunters. They're not exclusively hunters, they will also sometimes scavenge for their food. And I mentioned earlier those wild dogs, high success rate but very small, so lions will come in and take prey away from the wild dogs after the dogs have done the hard work for them. So lions are pretty resourceful and don't often struggle finding food. Now, we're honestly pretty lucky to see them. Again, they spend up to 20 hours a day inactive, but also it'll get very hot on top of that Kobe Rock Formation. This is their favorite home, essentially. But if it gets too hot, they'll find some shade underneath. Thankfully, the overcast weather, the trees maybe as well on top of those rocks are helping us out. But a lot of the time, you'll drive right by without seeing anything. So pretty cool. Might be a little hard to see, but there's a warthog out to our left-hand side. I can just see one tusk sticking up amongst those rocks. As we come around the curve, it might be a little easier to see it, but warthogs are the largest burrowing animal in the world and also a relative of the domestic pig. A group is called a sounder. Hopefully there's a better chance to see them in a minute. I see 2 ostrich coming up on our right-hand side. Both are females, actually. Males have black feathers, females have gray feathers. You can see the ostrich eggs there to our right. One egg can weigh up to 3 pounds, about the same as 2 dozen chicken eggs.
Do you guys keep
Ostrich,
the babies? Or are you guys...
Actually, I don't know what happens. It's a good question. I've never seen an egg hatch. Anyway, the ostrich, they're the largest bird in the world. They stand up to 9 feet tall. They're flightless. They use their wings for balance. When they run, they can charge up to... run at top speed up to 40 miles an hour. Fastest bipedal land animal in the world. Oh, I know why I've never seen them hatch. They're all females.
They're all females, right?
Never mind.
Yeah, we were just
I was
thinking
thinking about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, then there's also the zebras to our right. Grant's zebras, they're black with white stripes. You can tell that by their black snout. Their stripes make our fingerprints unique, so you can actually identify different zebras by their stripes. They're an equine, so they are related to horses. Pretty strong height to kick, just like a horse. People did try to domesticate zebras. Of course, that was unsuccessful. Coming up on the right, there's a pair of yellow-billed storks. They live in pairs. They'll sometimes live in a group called a mustering, which will be 10 to 50 pairs. They're a carnivorous bird, so they eat things like fish, frogs, snakes, worms, even other small birds, but usually prey that's more accessible than that. Unfortunately, as we pass the next gate up here, we're going to be leaving the reserve, coming to the end of our safari together, so I do unfortunately have to drop you off the warden's post in a minute. Where I drop you off will be very close to the entrance to Gorilla Falls, which is one of 2 walking trails found here in the park. They're accessible to scooters, strollers, wheelchairs, you can take them with you. The other trail is over in Asia. It's called the Maharaja Jungle Trek. The both of them are some pretty incredible animals, like the Western lowland gorilla is found here in Africa, and the Sumatran tiger is found over in Asia. So make sure you check them out before they close at 7. They are open, weather permitting, so if the weather gets too bad, they may close, but they're open to 7. If you want to learn more about our conservation efforts, you want to learn more about the animals, how they're cared for, anything like that, hop on the train. You may hear the distant whistle of. That's the Wildlife Express. Takes you out to Rafiki's Planet Watch. The trains will only run up until 4:30, and Rafiki's closes at 5, so keep that in mind. You'll find a petting zoo, again, weather permitting, it's outdoors. Character meet and greets, and there's also an active veterinary hospital. I don't know if this is still going on, but I know that there was a minor procedure going on earlier at that veterinary hospital. You can look in on that. It's pretty fascinating. I don't know if it's still going on, but you can head over there and check that out, maybe. There's a lot of things to do there, so definitely want to head over there before 4:30. Now, no two safaris will ever be the same, so if you get a chance to come back, join us for another later. We're going to be here until park close, and we'll do night safaris after sunset. We don't say goodbye because goodbyes are far too final. Instead, we say kwaherini, which means go well. So go well, go wild. Enjoy the rest of your day out there. Sansa Sana, thanks so much for joining me once again. My name is Phil. It was my pleasure being your guide, and I hope to see you all back.
Lots of ambient noises in Pandora.
Oh, Pandora.
Welcome to Valley of Moara,
Oh, Valley of the Village.
Pandora. Nagati Kami?
I
I think I butchered that. Never seen the movie, so very interesting architecture. This place definitely gives me the feelings of an alien planet. That's Flight of Passage. Alrighty. What's going on?
Everything I'm wearing is glowing. Look at my socks.
We're glowing! My sock is still glowing. Never mind. That's pretty cool. Riverside. Dreams do come true when Ford told
I don't do mornings.
That fits you very well.
I don't do mornings.
Disturbingly well.
Cold and sweet, just like Michael.
Oh no, what is that? What is that? Oh god.
Mom said you need wine stoppers. I like these. I like these. I didn't lose a bet this year, so I'm not buying you that. I just bought you one for Christmas. They have Orlean shot glasses too.
Good for you. What did you find now? Oh, that's cool.
Look how cute that is.
Lots of snacks. And candy. Lots of candy.
There's a Stitchette.
Stitch and Angel. Stitch and Angel. We got Mickeys. We got Minnies. We got ladies.
Do you know which resort is the biggest?
We got more Mickeys. Donald and Daisies. More Mickeys. More food. Oh god. Oh god.
Stuff.
Oh my god.
And more Stitches. Lots of Stitches. We got Shelly Mays. Got even more Shelly Mays. We got Mouse Ears. We got Goofy. Hortensia. That's interesting. Some Hortensia, but no Oswalds. That's interesting. Anybody want the keys to the kingdom? This is apparently a pencil case. I don't know anymore. Frozen, Stitch, Mickey, Mickey Minis, Nerdy Mickey and Minnie, pencils and pens, and just a standard gold one.